over 10 years ago, going on 14, maybe 50 years. Been about that long. A person stopped by my house, Dr. Dre, and he stopped by for a few minutes, and he wanted to speak to or he was asking about somebody. Well, there was only about a couple of people in the house at the time. Me and a cousin of mine and another an adult aunt of mine. But he spoke to her. I stayed in my room. I can hear the whole thing. I was able to hear the whole conversation of him and my aunt in my room. But he asked, as he walked in, he asked about, or he said, where is he at? When he first came in. And then he sat down. But my aunt said he's in his room. So, there might be a little problem with that because who it is he's looking for, I wouldn't know whether it's me or a relative of mine, the other one. I don't know if he was trying to give let it be known that he's, or give some type of inspiration or something like that by showing up to continue singing or trying to become a singer or whatever. I wasn't actually doing too much of that. I actually got some software for music producing, and I didn't really do too much of that. I was kind of messing with it. But I would sit down and write on a notepad here and there, but I would never read it. But I would be in my room here and there. For a few years I did that, not too much of it or whatever. I wrote stuff down. My other relative of mine, I don't know what he was doing, if anything, but he told me someone actually asked him to freestyle or something like that. He told me a few years back, some girl pulled over, or as he was walking home or something like that, asked him to freestyle or whatever, and that's it. He didn't say who it was or whatever. This was way before that, or a few years before that person showed up, and I don't know how he knows, if he knows my aunt or not or whatever, but I do not know him at all. But he showed up and left. And right, as he left, or not as he left, but he left, and right away there's just people being loud driving down the main road. I live on the street, and it's near one of the main highways or main roads. They just were being loud on purpose, obviously. They were saying things, this and that, here and there. They'd go by, they were saying stuff. And I noticed the main road get really loud, or like with traffic, a little bit more traffic than usual. There's still some problems with the noise being made. There's still, a little bit of the noise is still being made after so long. And I'm not too sure if anybody would have gotten signed, or what he would have done if he would have spoken with anybody, if anybody would have walked out there. But before he left, he kind of said, these guys have no talent, not loud enough for us to hear or whatever. But it was quiet, the TV, no one was playing any TV in the living room, or I can hear nothing. My room was quiet. I was just sitting down. I heard it, but I didn't go outside my room, who it was. So it sounded like, and then he left. And nothing has happened ever since. Other than all that other noise other people have been making. And it's been a problem. Too much noise. Satellites or radios, if it's him or not, or whoever it may be, started coming around the area. I noticed that something where they're able to speak when no one's actually around. A bunch of noise around the house, a bunch of noise where I go, where I walk. I can feel things being aimed at me. I can hear people talking near my ear, around me, constantly, and it just takes, it's just a problem. Over time, at the same time, somebody else kind of showed up, and they started speaking about other things, that went on. But I'm not too sure if it's related, if that Dre coming over is related with this other person speaking about these other things that went on. People started speaking about being an informant and so forth, and they started speaking about how things kind of went on and so forth with that, and the outcome would be not an informant at all. But I'm not too sure if it's related to Dre coming over, if he has anything to do with that type of thing. When it comes to, whatever they might do or feel like they want to do, if it's anything that's going to be done. But there's this other thing with Snoop Dogg also. He sings about people saying things, snitching or whatever. It's a song. And I actually caught something on a cell phone recording, and it has people talking and so forth over the interference. But this was back in 2014. This happened in around 2016, maybe. He showed up, maybe 2015, and after and so forth. And they start speaking about that after he shows up, this other person. But if it's related, I'm not too sure if they're all, related, those things that are going on. But this other person has a person scratching off the paper saying rat. And there's these other people talking, and someone asking for a vehicle, or being asked what type of vehicle he wants and all that. But they sound like, people that I might recognize. But it was nothing. I had it over the years, and as they were speaking with those radios or satellites or whatever, I brought up the fact that I had that. I remembered or whatever, brought up that I had those recordings that caught the interference. And they started saying, oh yeah, it's us or whatever. They started kind of admitting to it. Some of them started saying it's this person and that person, but it really was nothing until they want to sit there saying stuff and then making it of whatever they want to, whatever it may be. It's nothing but Snoop Dogg has a song called Bad For Me and so forth, and it talks about snitching and this and that, and it when I hear it, it's just whatever, it's just a song, but it kind of sounds like he caught that message or that interference that I got, that person talking about a car and all that. Like, he kind of sounds like he kind of says, not directly, that he heard it also, or something like that, if it's anything like of that sort. But he has a cell phone in the music video, and he talks about the person, kind of says the name, and it kind of sounds like the person's actual name, what it sounds like. And a car talks about a car, and the other person calling someone a rat. It doesn't say the name though. Through the whole thing, there was no name, but the person talking about near his house and so forth. And the female on there talks about that they want it off, or they want to take it, or something like that. And it talks about near his house and so forth, or something. She shows up on paper, it sounds like. But there's like these sounds, but it sounds like little segments here and there, right after another, not so much. But what Dre has to do with that, if anything, is whatever that is. I can't say he has any part in any of that, but he showed up, and then all that shit started coming out after. this person, as it was, he'd be they were driving around the area and things happened. I'm not going to say what happened. I wasn't involved though, but I noticed. And I would sit around recording around my room or in my room. I did it for a few years and I still have them, and I'm listening, and if I listen to them I can hear cars go by, I can hear static or voices in the interference. It's just pretty much a good amount of it. But I'm not too sure if anybody knows anything about that. But I'm just sharing. But yeah, I'm not too sure how anybody can become any of that, a singer, when that goes on, because it's just a little too much. And it's just constant. It just has been going constant again. It just, concentration, sleep, rest, all gets messed with. So go ahead and leave a comment about it if you know anything about any of that. Thank you.